just to prepare, get some extra content going, but also drive in some more connection. So Monday is I think a very important day of the week. Not so much that extra content going. It needs to be scary, but I think Monday is super important because it sets the tone for the rest of your week. Do you agree?
Yes,
Well,
definitely.
how do we set the tone for the rest of the week on the very day when it starts? Well, let's go back to how we set up, right? Your your Monday follows very much so in line with your Sunday night. If you have a real rough Sunday night, you're probably gonna have a real rough Monday morning. Preparation is key, right? Anthony's like, I'm here. It's me. I'm having a rough Monday morning because I had a rough Sunday night. How many of us take time to think about what's going to happen when this happens next down the line? What's the next big step? What's the next big hurdle? Many of us are reactive, not proactive. So that's what today's mindset reset is for this Monday morning is how can we be more proactive in our lives for development than reactive? When you're driving, right? Anthony and Fabi are currently driving. Are you looking at the car directly in front of you? Or are you trailing a few cars ahead? Are you looking 5 or 6 cars ahead? Are you looking for the patterns that are happening before you and estimating what the car in front of you will do? Right? My dad taught me to drive by screaming and yelling. Anyone else have their, learning lessons that way? You know, banging on the steering, banging on the dash, slamming his foot in the ground because he's trying to smash the imaginary brake. But here's the thing. My dad also taught me to look far ahead. He's like, do not pay attention. Well, that's a bad way of looking at it. You pay attention to the car in front of you. He goes, but don't pay so
Yeah.
much mind to the car in front of you. Look at 3 or 4 cars ahead. Because if 3 or 4 cars ahead are slamming on their brakes, the car in front of you is probably going to also. And in my life, I have seen many accidents happen in front of me that I was able to avoid because I was focused so far ahead. I was proactive. Now, in my life, in my career, in my success, am I proactive or am I reactive? In my business, am I proactive or am I reactive? Are you thinking so far ahead? Are you looking so far ahead? Are you creating a plan for where you're going instead of being reactive along the way? What happens when we spend most of our times reacting to life? Are we enjoying it?
Mm.
No, we're not. We are not taking the time to stop and smell the roses because we're so focused on what's happening, right? We're too reactive to the environment. My friends that are off-road racers, right? It's one of the best ways to build proactive viewing is you see the dips and the dodges and the turns and the curls and the dirt and the sand and the dark spots and you know to anticipate different body movements. But we can translate that into real estate. We can translate like that into business. We can translate that to life in any general space. Because when you are thinking about what's going to happen next and you're making a plan, I know that people hate that word PLAN, plan. You're being proactive. You're creating an intention. But we can't do that if we do not have foresight. We can't create a proactive plan if we're not taking the time to go, hey, what do I want this to look like? Where am I heading? What's my long-term goal? What's 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 cars ahead of me? What's that look like? And if you didn't start that last night by going to bed at a reasonable time, by putting out the intention to, hey, this is how it's going to go tomorrow. This is my plan. You woke up this morning when the alarm clock went off and you're like, crap, what am I doing? Where am I at? So, being that we know that today is the first full, real working Monday of the year, would you expect traffic to be lighter or heavier this morning?
Heavier.
Right? Why is that?
Everyone's getting back into their routine.
So if you need to be somewhere at a certain time, can you not think about extra effort to get there? I might need to leave a little bit earlier. If I have to leave a little bit earlier, I need to stop what I'm doing a little bit earlier. If I'm stopping what I'm doing a little bit earlier, I need to start it a little bit earlier. If I need to start a little bit earlier, maybe I need to wake up a little bit earlier. And in order for me to go, I need to wake up earlier. Ultimately, I need to go to bed earlier. None of us, I'm ignoring Ty on this one, none of us can run 4 hours of sleep a night long term. We're well past that in our lives. Ty is still in his 20s. He's a youngin. He hasn't even hit that bridge yet. He can do 4 hours of sleep a week and be fine.
Easy,
However, the
easy.
rest of us have a bounce period. And you should understand how your body and mind work. Like, I know in the morning I'm most creative. I know in the morning I'm most focused. I'm an early riser. 6 a.m. hits, I'm already running. The rest of my family, it's you got to turn that 6 upside down and wait a few minutes, if you know what I mean. But if you know you've got things to get done and a plan in place, let's start scheduling ourselves before then. Because today's actions are a result of last night. Because my kids have been out of school for the last 3 weeks or however long it's been, they're like, I don't want to go to school tomorrow. Everyone's freaking out because it's school tomorrow. Well, it's also Sunday. And if you've got teenage boys, you understand this. Getting them to shower is an act of God. So I started that fight at 4 or 5 p.m. I said, nope, you got to shower. Let's get in the shower. Let's do it now. And it took 3 hours to get all three of them cleaned up and ready for school and not have to fight with them. But I knew that we would have that fight because now we're going back to school. We got to go back to a schedule. Come 8 o'clock, same thing. Let's shut down. Let's start our plan in place so that this morning we were not scrambling. That made me think about today is, okay, are we being proactive or reactive in our businesses? Are we being proactive or reactive in our lives? I'd have to say a majority of us, and myself included sometimes, are being very reactive. But if we look at the most successful in our industry, the most successful in our environments, the most successful in our spheres of influence, I guarantee they have a higher level of proactivity than reactivity. Because when you're the head of the pack, you don't have to deal with the dust. Right? Anyone ever driven off road with a group of people? It sucks being in the back. It's not too bad in the front. Because you get to see everything. You get to plan. You get to go the route. Everyone else is just following your dust clouds. So take some time every morning and set intentions for the day. Well, I don't have time in the morning, Dan. Okay, great. So let's create some time by taking away some time from the day before. Every one of us has the same 24 hours. Some of us need more sleep than others. And I'm not going to tell you to be hyper successful. You got to wake up before the roosters and punch the hen box to get them awake. No. I know massively successful people that do not wake up at 4 a.m. every day. But every moment that they put into the day matters. I remember Gary Keller saying this once on stage, and I'll never forget it. He goes, there is no virtue in working long hours. There's no virtue in saying, you know what, I'm the first one in, the last one out. If between those times you're not doing anything. What matters is not how many hours you put into the day, but what you put into those hours. So being proactive allows you to be more efficient. If I'm going to do X, Y, and Z today, then I need to block my calendar. I need to, shore up the hatches, if you will. I need to lock my door. I need to hunker down and get to work. I'm being proactive. If you're sitting around waiting for a phone call, waiting for a lead, waiting for an email, waiting for a response, I think that's where we really get the stress of this business. Talk about reactive. So how can you be more proactive? What are some of the things you can do starting today to help you be more reactive in your life and your business? How can you be more proactive in your life and business? Can you control what Congress does? But you're going to have to be reactive to it, right? Okay, I'm going to be reactive to the change, but how can we make that a proactive stance?
Paying attention to what they're doing,
Paying attention, and then what?
preparing how you present that message to your sphere and others around you in your business.
Yeah, go be proactive with them. Guys, this is what just happened, right? We have to react to it. We don't know what's going to happen until it happens. We can anticipate. We can look at all the signs and we can make a best guess, you know.
If you wait till your client asks you about it, then you're
You're late.
reactive and you're already behind.
Yeah. But if you go out there and say, hey guys, I just read this article. This is what just happened. This is fantastic information. This is what it means to you. Right? Because we're going to be reactive. There's no way around it. There's going to be things that happen in our environment we can't control or see coming. We got to be reactive to it. But how can we take reactive and turn it into proactive? That's simple. It's taking what you have and then sharing it back out there. But like Mikey said, if you're waiting for a client to come to you and say, hey, what does this mean for me? You're late. You are now totally reactive because now you're like, oh, I mean, this is what it means to you and stuff like that. How else can we be more proactive than reactive?
Our time management, calendaring.
That's a big one, isn't it?
I mean, there's the day, there's the week, there's the month. You know, this is
The minute.
Down to the minute, right? If you're wasting minute, you're wasting money. I have definitely had a 30-second blip in my calendar turn into a 2-hour endeavor. Someone has knocked on my door in the middle of an opportunity that I was working on, and they said, hey, you got a minute? And that turned into 2 hours of my time. Not wasted, just spent elsewhere. I still had to go back and do the thing I was working on before. But we often will take those opportunities as emergencies. They're not. One of the best ways you can be proactive is setting up guardrails, protectors of your time. And when you have a schedule, right? Let's say you've got a doctor's appointment. What's the sign on the doctor's room say about your cell phone?
turn it off.
Turn it off. Put it on silent. Turn it off, right? It's not because it's going to interfere with any medical equipment. And if it does, I'm sorry that I'm giving bad information, but I just don't see how it could. There's so many cellular waves out there that shouldn't. But what it does do is it disturbs the other patients and it disturbs the doctor. And if he's in or she's in the middle of a conversation with you with some super deep information, and then all of a sudden you get your phone call, your attention's distracted, their attention's distracted. So you shut off your phone or you shut off your notifications. You put on do not disturb. You put up some guardrails so that you're in that appointment. But is your thinking time in the morning set up the same way? Is that 30-minute time block you have for meditation and prayer and journaling, does that have the same importance as a doctor's appointment?
That's
Or if something happens, is that the first thing to go? Right? Raise your hand if you ever worked through lunch and forgotten to eat. Because that appointment wasn't nearly as important to you, was it? What happened by the end of the day? How'd you feel?
Hungry.
I'm hungry.
Exhausted.
Made bad choices.
Yeah. Usually in those moments, you're eating on the fly, you're eating fast food. You're probably not thinking and eating intentionally. You're just reacting. Oh, shit, I haven't eaten. You know, on the way home, you stop by Burger King and get a McDouble or whatever. Only one of you caught the difference there. You're like, Burger King doesn't have McDoubles. Showing yourself.
Yeah.
But our time blocking, our calendaring, it's not being blocked. We think blocking as, oh, I'm building it. I want you to think blocking as in blocking. I am blocking out the distractions for this moment. Between 8 a.m. and 8:30 Arizona time every single morning that we have these calls, if you come knock on my door, I ignore you. My phone is on do not disturb. The only person that can get through to me is my wife. And she knows better because she knows unless it's an emergency, don't call me. This is time blocked because now I'm in a place where I can be proactive. I'm working towards something. How else can we be proactive? What are you doing for self-edification, learning, educating?
Mhm.
Are you reading articles? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you seeking a higher knowledge base of something? If you have to constantly say, I don't know, let me go find out, it's going to slow down conversations. It's going to break the chain between a buyer and seller in you. Yeah, I get it. I don't want you to lie to people. I don't. If you don't know and you genuinely don't know, say, I don't know. Let me go find out. Let's get that information together. But how does it feel when somebody asks you a question and you have the answer? Because you took the time to read an article or you took the time to look into something that could potentially come up in a conversation about real estate, come up in a conversation about life. Proactivity doesn't mean that I'm always going to be sharpening my edge, but it does mean I'm always sharpening my edge. If I had 8 hours to cut down a cherry tree, how long should we spend sharpening the axe? A lot of people just go out there and use blunt force and beat on it until it breaks. But the smart people go out there and they prepare. They sharpen their axe. They get ready. They get a plan. Where does a tree going to fall? What am I going to do after the tree falls? Who's going to help me pick it up? Who's going to help me clean it up? What is the result that I want of this action? So just like every real estate coach out there, you got to lead generate. You got to lead generate. You got to lead generate. Lead generating is cutting down the cherry tree. You know, it's the action of what you need to do. But what are you lead generating for? What's the intent behind it? What's the conversations you're going to have in that lead generation session? What do you want the result to be? Because if you're just going in blindly cutting down cherry trees, you don't know what you're doing. You just walked in with a sledgehammer, right? Go cut down some trees. You can beat down a tree with a sledgehammer. I've done it. I grew up a weird, real childhood, man. Growing up on a farm, you do some weird stuff. But it's not very effective. It takes a lot of effort versus walking in there with a chainsaw. A targeted approach, knowing exactly what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and how you're going to do it. That is proactive. If you're just picking up the phone and you're just scrolling through until a name pops out, you hit send, you don't even know what conversation you're going to have. That's reactive. Yes, I'm lead generating and I push myself to do so, but why are you having the conversation? What do you want out of it? What value are you providing? There's another way of being proactive is what am I going to do with my time and what result do I want from it? Plan. Because when you fail to plan to fail. When you do not take the time to design your future, you become a victim of someone else's plan.
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but I want to make myself rich. I don't want to make other people rich. But I also want people to become rich because of me being rich. That's a weird thing to talk about. Maybe I didn't say that correctly, but it is. Like I don't want to work a 9 to 5, punch the time clock
Mhm.
for Mr. Smithers in his button factory,
Mhm.
making him uber rich when I'm just getting paid minimum wage. I want to own the button factory. I want to own the ground the button factory is on. And I want everyone that works at the button factory to be millionaires. And I want them to be doing it because they're passionate about it, not because they have to have a job. They got to get paid. That's a proactive life. I know a lot of people, and a lot of these people that are successful because they're tenacious. They wanted something more and they went and got it. They didn't just wait for things to happen, they created them. One of the sayings I hate, I hate it. I say I don't hate a lot of things, but I hate it. Is good things come to those who wait. Bullshit. Good things come to those who work. I do this with my boys. Right? I got 3 boys, 2 girls. The girls, they're not on the chore chart. That's mom's responsibility. But the boys, they get chores for me. And I call the boys to come help. All 3 of them. I get yelled, "Hey boys, let's get this." 2 of them show up. Those 2 get paid, and the third one goes, "Hey, where's my money? You didn't do anything." That's not fair. How is it not fair? Good things come to those who work. I also don't believe in if it's meant to be, it'll happen. No. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. You want something, go get it. Go work for it. Go do it. New year, new me, bullshit. New year, same bullshit. Let's get to work. The rules haven't changed, people. Success is simple, not easy. Do the work, get the reward. Pretty easy. Don't do the work, don't do the reward. Pretty easy. So being proactive means what work am I going to do for the result that I want to have? Pretty simple stuff. So as you go into your Monday and you're planning out the rest of your week, if you haven't planned it already, you need to today, right now, off this call. Push whatever you got, 15 minutes, and sit down and say, this is what I'm going to do this week. This is my plan. And then as things occur, are you being reactive or proactive? The storm's on the horizon, my friends. We don't have to wait for it to get here to get ready. Let's get ready and then charge through it. Just like the buffalo, charge the storm. Speaking of doctor's appointment, I'm pretty sure Anthony's at a doctor's appointment. That's funny. Or they're just measuring his arm, oddly. It could just be a super important tattoo appointment. So, all right, what did you learn today? What's stuck in your mind that you're gonna put to work today, right now?
Being proactive, doing things ahead of time, not when things come at you, then you work at it.
I wish I had one of the videos queued up I could show you. I just came to mind right now. Have you ever seen a football player just get absolutely ran through? Dude just gets ran right over. That's because one was proactive, one was reactive. Proactive guy ran through the reactive guy. It's kind of fun. So protect your time, Robin said in the chat. Protect your time. The most valuable resource any of us have. You can always make more money. You can always buy more things. You can replace almost anything that's not living, except for your time. So be proactive today, my friends. Go out there, create what you want to happen. Quit waiting for others to tell you how it's supposed to be.